Hi, so I thought I might do something a little bit different as far as Jump and Jump Plus goes. I actually saw a bunch of people on Twitter doing a tier list with all of the series Jump and Jump Plus has. Most of these, in fact, all of these, you can read on Manga Plus. So I thought I would go through and kind of give them some grades. Of course, this is streamed on Twitch. You can catch any Twitch stream live, but this will just be one part of the VOD. Don't expect some super duper high tech editing, as this is all live and in person. Alright, let's start with Akane Banashi. I'm gonna put it in A. Personally, think it might be more like an S tier. I did buy the first volume, but I don't know if it's gotten something that really made me go, oh my god, I'm in love with this. I think that it's a weird subject matter, and maybe that's what keeps me from putting it in S. Ayakashi Triangle was once in Jump, moved to Jump Plus to be more, well, more like hentai. Where would I rank this? I'm gonna put it in C for now. I think the story's still there. Slowly has some progress. I don't want to put it in D because there might be some down here that are specifically reserved for D. I maybe could make an F, couldn't I? Like an F category. Let's do that. F for failure. It's black. We'll make it white so it's very evident what F is. So I'm gonna move Ayakashi to D then, because this gives me some more room. Beaten Motion. Started out, I thought the first chapter was more like a one-shot than anything. Didn't really expect much. But the story has instances of real emotion, trying to chase your dreams. And I've actually really liked the series thus far. The art is really good. I believe that it's a newcomer doing it. So for first work, giving this a good grade. Black Clover. Black Clover is 90s DBZ. It's really a bygone era of shonen at this point. If you look at some of the heavy hitters we'll talk about later, they don't use a lot of the same tropes that Black Clover does because they're kind of outdated. The hype is still there, just like you get hype when you read One Piece, or hype when you read JJK, or hype when you read My Hero. But more of the time, it's just bad writing at times. I think I'm going to put it in C. When is WrestleQuest? WrestleQuest is when this is done. If you'd like to be notified, someone in the chat can @ you when WrestleQuest is happening. I'm assuming maybe an hour, 40 minutes max. Blooming in Love. This is similar to Beaten Motion, except it also involves dreams. Instead of being an anime editor and a musician, it is a painter, and she works on like drums and stuff, like making them, not a drummer. This one's a bit more romance oriented, and they're already a couple. I'm not going to tell you how many chapters in that they're a couple, so hopefully you can check that one out yourself. Blue Box is everything wrong with today's current rom-com situations. Things develop too slow. Despite kids being in high school, Just like normal high school kids don't they don't act like middle school kids. They don't act like grade school children on the playground with their crush. And I think that that's a big problem with these type of rom-coms that have been coming out lately, especially ones where you have to live with the person. That's getting more and more common. Um, it does get to a point. It's like kind of reading Rent a Girlfriend. You read 10 chapters, they suck. Nothing happens. You read that 11th chapter, you're drawn back in. Type of that stuff. For me, I it's got great art, but it doesn't focus on any sport aspect. Some of the sports, I look at her jump shot. She looks like Joakim Noah. The badminton's been okay, but just not enough. Balance it. Put some balance in there. Haven't read this. I know I'm gonna get some comments about how have you not read this, but I haven't. So, do we have both Borutos in here or just one? Just one, because they're in alphabetical order, aren't they? Boruto, kind of like Black Clover, kind of outdated in certain spots. It didn't really get good until near the end, but there were points in the beginning and middle that led up to, like story-wise, that climax near the end. I think that part 2 is going to be a lot better, as part 2 chapter 1 just came out this Sunday, past Sunday, so you should check that out. Chainsaw Man. Ooh, gonna get a lot of hate for this. Chainsaw Man is right here. I don't like the art. In the first part, every single villain that shows up has a lackluster ending. Denji is led around by his balls. He's not a real person. He's a goob. And me being Captain Goob, I know all about him. I know all about being a goob. He gets tricked by women at every step of every turn throughout the manga. If you go back and read, it's women that lead him into these bad, precarious situations that it's hard for him to get out of. He's dominated by women, and it's drawn this way because that's what the author has a fetish for. If you don't believe that, you can go find it online. It's documented in an interview. The second part I thought was going to be better, similar to what Fire Punch had. The second part of Fire Punch was absolutely great. But it's starting out pretty slow, and I don't know where it's going to go. Trojan X, the series by the Tokyo Ghoul author. I think that I'm probably going to put it in a B. The art is great. The story is okay. But similar to when I was reading Tokyo Ghoul and then Tokyo Ghoul Re, I noticed that some of his art style is great. The fights are great, but the story sometimes is just a little bit gooby. Things happen and they're explained, but even if they go over your head, they're not really explained well. So it's like sometimes you'll be reading and it takes you 3-4 chapters to figure out what somebody meant when they quoted some stupid philosophical thing. Cipher Academy. This is by the author of Bakemonogatari. It's a fat F. It's a failure. This guy hasn't had a hit since he wrote Bakemonogatari. And there's a reason why. I have not read Owl No Exorcist, sir. Yes, I have not read Blue Exorcist. So Cipher Academy, my problems with it are it's very Japanese oriented. A lot of the early test quest, the tests and questions that they give you, they're mainly meant for Japanese, and so it's very hard for a translator to put them in English to make it sound okay or be okay. The fact that they fight over NFT Doge coins for starting a war when they're in like middle school. And there's so many things I could go on and on about how much this manga is not worth your time, but we'll skip it. That's not the name, but you should know the name. Gonna give this a B. It has spectacular art. The story's pretty good, but it just kind of flies off the rails, and I know that that's what it's supposed to do. But sometimes it flies off the rails, and it feels like I'm in a fight for 2 or 3 volumes. And sometimes I feel like I've almost originally forgot what the fight was even about. Especially this whole entire spaceship arc that I don't know how long at this point it's lasted since Godzilla came down and we found out that there was a girl in a suit and went from there. But I just don't like the writing. I don't like the story. The characters are good, and I think by this time next year, if we reevaluated this would come up. Demon Lord Exchange, D. It just started, probably only 7 chapters, but it seems like it's not really got anything going for it. It has nice art. Diamond in the Rough, good story. The art's not as good though, except in certain big moments. I like that they make every single character feel real. I like that every single character feels like a person. So these 3 here that it's next to are more hype oriented, and this is more story oriented, but it's held back by a few things with character decisions, motivations. Sometimes too much drama can be a problem, and a little bit of the art. Do retry. F. This is by the Bone Collection mangaka, who got canceled before 20 chapters were out in Jump. They got the okay to come back. I read the one shot, and the one shot was great because it was far different than what they came up with here. It's too over the top. It's not real boxing. No real techniques. And currently it's rushing to the finish line of the acts. It'll be another series that could possibly end before 20 chapters. Getting U19'd on 2 different series is something ridiculous. Dragon Ball. Gonna put it in C, simply because if we're looking at the manga, it's adapting movies, and then they'll have kind of their own little arc in between, and then adapting movies. Now, I think it's cool when they're not adapting movies, but just you're better off watching the movie, and then if an anime comes back, go back to it. The same reason that Black Clover's here. It's a hype fest. This manga specifically, gonna put in C. This is good, but the most recent arc, they kind of shit their pants. This is supposed to be a love story between a regular guy and the girl who has a giant mouth if she takes the stitches out, because she's like a monster, if you will. A folklore. I would say this was probably a B up until this year, mainly because the story writing slowed down. The backstory was so bad that at the end of the backstory they had to take a whole chapter and explain everything that happened. And you know that when the author has to go back and re-explain everything afterwards, the editor told him that it was being poorly received, and even the editor said, I don't understand this. So, and I think a lot of that, some of that is mainly because of the character designs. Some of them are pretty similar for a lot of the guys. Fabricant 100, that's an F. A good premise or execution. These things are typical for Weekly Shonen Jump, where they get in and by chapter 8 you're already ranked, and if your rank is bad, then your editor comes over and says, we need to be thinking about what we could do to end this. which is insane to me. I dropped Ghost Girl. I know it's by a popular author, but I couldn't handle it. I dropped this. I didn't like the comedy aspect of her, like, punching spirits to get them out, but also, like, being clumsy and kind of a goob at the same time. Did not like that. Didn't like this. The comedy is just not a demographic nailed towards me. It's about a girl who loves boy bands. And so she dresses up like a boy to try to go to a school that teaches boy bands because her favorite boy band artist disappeared, got hurt, killed. Art gear is a bit of an issue. Instantly you can say B, because it has great story, great art, real emotion. It has actual progress, has real feelings, you can get attached to these characters easily. But, at the same time, I can't give it an A like I would for Akane Banashi for the same type of stuff. Because it has all of that. Most of these things are either too short or they're missing one of those. This has been on hiatus for so long, then it came back, had 12 chapters, then it's on infinite hiatus again. The hiatus is the problem that keeps it in B versus A. Hokkaido Gals, easy B. Does a good job for a rom-com to try to keep things relatively open for all the girls, even though you know who's going to win. In the end, it tries to at least make you think some of the other girls can win. It has pretty decent progress, and the author does his best to give chapter color illustrations if he's going to miss a week. Icehead Gill, garbage. Not much to mention on. Main character, dull as a rock. Side characters, boring. The story has a premise, which is interesting, and that's why it got serialized, but other than that, it's not good. Jingxi, I'm going to put here. I'm not really good with Chinese stuff, so whenever it comes to certain aspects of, like, Chinese culture, mythology, theology, I'm not really full on board. I don't think that makes me sound racist or anything, but that's just kind of how I am. Also, we haven't seen enough of, like, real fights. There's been big moments, but not real fights to make a decision. Genru, I'm gonna give a C. I think the writing's there, but it's still too early to tell if this is going to be a good series or not. Right now, it's just currently creepy and has, like, a plot of what it wants to do, what it may do. This year, I could see this jumping from this year to next year up to A. JJK. Right now, JJK is a clear A. You could even say it's an S. I would probably say an S just based off the current arc that they're in. Thus far, I haven't had any complaints with the series. It's really well done. There's nothing you can say or do that makes the series seem bad. Kaiju number 8, I'm gonna say is an A. It's a bit of a different type of story to start out with. So it's not just like super magical superpowers that people get and feels like the dude has to earn it. A lot of the plot twists have been really well done. A lot of the synchro side characters have been extremely well done. The only problem is the schedule that it's been on lately has kind of dropped my hype down, but I'm going to leave it where it's at for now. Kill Blue. I'm going to put Kill Blue in C. I think the blend of comedy and action has been done pretty well thus far, and they ramped it up in the most recent chapters. And I never would have thought that the return of Kuroko no Basket, I thought Robot Laser Beam, the golf manga he made, was going to be good. Turns out it wasn't, got axed. this far better. Kindergarten Wars, dropped it. Probably going to get a lot of hate for that, but I read 9 chapters. Every chapter was rinse and repeat, so I dropped it. Somebody told me, we'll just read to chapter 15, it gets better. No. Don't think you understand how many things that I read every day. Magic Girl Company, that is easily an A. You come to care about every single character in this. It has an actual plot. The way that part 1 ends will make you want to read the second part. You dreaded waiting those weeks. And I can't wait to see what they do in part 2. The Exorcist manga. I'm also going to give an A to that as well. I think it's really well written. It manages to take Bible verses and kind of squeeze them in. And for me, that's cool. Because you're not really changing the meaning. You're taking what it says and applying it to what's happening in the series. And that's cool. I like when things are different, cool, try to do new things, or are all about the plot. So I would give this an A. Especially the current arc. Started out as, I might want to move this down. School life, what the heck? But managed to stay around, and it's come to a good climax. Marriage Toxin. Also going to give an A to. Marriage Toxin's well written. It's recommended by the Demon Slayer author, so if you're one of these meatheads, this would be something you might want to check out. Maybe we can get you off the meathead syndrome and get you to read something good. Marriage Toxin does a good job of showing love as a battlefield. Pun intended. Martial Master Asumi. Already a B. With only 8 chapters out. I believe 8, maybe 9. I think 9. This, by the Hinomaru Sumo mangaka, is, it's going to be a hit. I can see it. And if they mismanage it, something could happen and it could turn out to be a flop, but I feel like this has all the potential to be a hit. Has a strong lead, has a strong premise, there's a good villain. The side character girl is great because she's not just a love interest, she's somebody who's willing to also kick ass and take names. She fights as well. So that's cool. I dropped this. It's about a gangster who takes care of a kid because his parents aren't really around too much. Roboco is an F. Roboco, the only reason Roboco is in Weekly Shonen Jump is simply to shill other products of Weekly Shonen Jump, whether that be anime, live actions, volumes, new series, old series. It's there to shill. That's all it does. When Oshinoko anime was popular, it had Oshinoko references in it because it's out there shilling. It's a shill fest. It's an F. This only has 3 chapters, so it's a bit too easy to tell. A bit too early to tell. What this will be, it's about a mermaid and a boy who... The boy falls in love with her, but she's got to go back to the water. She can't stay there. And she knows that, like, he's a little boy. It's not like he's going to love her forever type thing. I like series like that. They remind me of, like, My Boy. So I'll be interested to see where they go from here, or if this is just going to be something really short. Yozakura Family, at this point, is a D for me. I liked when they were in the arcs with the dad and stuff, but then they bring in an all-powerful character who gives them 5 years to train. They do their training. You're expecting them to meet back up, and we go into what could be the final arc for the series, right? Nope. The 2 main characters have kids, and then it becomes a fucking comedy fest full of just nonsense. And it's like retraining children into how to be assassins. I guess that's for some people. The people that are already too invested, there's probably sunken cost fallacy. You have to stay invested. And for me, I'm invested because I know that once we get done with this dog crap, we have to go back to the good stuff. So I'm just biding my time as I watch absolute nonsense Pokemon battles go on and yo-yo tricks for it to be over. Goosebumps, easy B. Might even be an A, actually. This, I thought that yandere was something you could do nothing with. It had to be very cliche. It had to have certain qualities, and you knew what you were getting, and you weren't getting anything other than that. The art could elevate it, but it's still going to be at its core a crappy story at this point because it's played out. This has managed to turn that yandere type issue on its head because the guy wants that. And then eventually, when she finds out that, like, maybe he does like me, then it flips and switches, and maybe he's the yandere, and he's so captivated and won't let her out of his sight because now he's, instead of she being his everything, it's like he can't take his eyes off of her. So I think that this is really good. It's done a lot to show people what they can do with this type of series or with this type of trope. And yeah, it's worth. My hero at this point is an S. I'm not going to take it down to an A because of the girl fight in the climax. There's no way you could. Especially with how it was written at the end. I think that shut up a lot of fans, myself included, that were complaining. As far as the series as a whole, it's great. There's a reason it's that popular. There's a reason it gets that many animes. There's a reason it sells that much. And, you know, I don't have any real complaints about the series. Like, I could look at Demon Slayer and be like, I don't know how this got popular. They have the same generic fight every time. And every time there's a sad backstory for the villain every time. It's not like that here. Like, bad guys just bad, dude. Some of them are they're just bad guys. And that's what I like. And that's like the difference between this new brand of storytelling and some old brand of storytelling. News Exorcist. This is garbage. I don't know what else to tell you. One Piece is an S. The pacing after Wano has been the greatest pacing in the story since maybe Marineford. It might actually be the greatest pacing and storytelling that the series has to date. And for that to be the case, well over 1,000 chapters in, is pretty remarkable. That the series can continue to grow with pacing, story reveals, backstories, foreshadowed plans that come up to now. Like, One Piece is really the GOAT, I guess. Oshinoko, I'm going to put an A, not S. The problem is that with this series, some of the decisions that have been made, I didn't like. Didn't like that dude just took it at somebody's word that, oh yeah, nothing about my dad, no big deal. Like, that type of stuff made me mad. And that's what keeps me from it being S, is that it's supposed to be about them trying to find this guy, and it turns into a situation of actors acting, and I like some of the things that they talk about within the industry, but they also don't do a good job of, like, I want to use a friend's example about a certain person trying to do a sword flip and make it seem like it's the coolest thing that they've ever done in their whole life. We don't have to make it that dramatized. It's not needed. I haven't read this. I know that it's a real long series, but it's like a 4 coma. Romantic Killer, I dropped about 11 chapters in. I don't like full color, and I didn't like the fact that everything just falls in place for her, but she just refuses to fall in love, and it's kind of stupid. This is by the Hitman Reborn author, Ron Kami Detective Kaminoshi, I believe is what it is. So, this is A. It's really well written. I like the cases. The twists are good. Eventually you might find out about, other quirky detectives throughout time, and that may interest you. I would suggest checking out the anime that'll start soon. Rui Dragon is a D. It's Slice of Life series, but because it's been gone so long, I'm not gonna put it in C. It's just hanging in Jump. I'm not gonna drop it because I thought, just like some of these other series, they have promise. Like, Ayakashi is more Sunken Cost Fallacy. This is Sunken Cost Fallacy, but these two are relatively new. This one has 7 chapters. This one's got about 20. The Chinese one is sort of odd because it's Chinese, but this one's like, oh, well, this could be interesting because it's like the Demon Lord has swapped bodies with a hero. How are we going to handle this? This is like a girl growing up and you're learning about adolescence, but it didn't do anything that really hooked me, probably because I'm a 30-year-old guy and I'm not 15. It's totally different, and I understand that. So that's why I would give it a D and not a... I'd put it in C, because it's been relatively well told, but because it's been gone for so long is the reason I'm putting it in D. Sakamoto Days. I'll give that an S. Does a pretty great job of balancing action as well as telling a story. Like, it knows what it's going for. It knows that it's a meathead series and it's trying to be a meathead series, and so it appeals to that, and it does a great job doing it. I dropped this. Wasn't funny. Haven't read this. Dropped this. This was by the My Thomas Security guy, which some of the gags from My Thomas Security were okay, but most of them were garbage. So I decided to check it out. Wish I didn't. Wanted to throw up. Guy never deserves to write again. Shiba series. This is an A. Probably a B. This is about, like, what if everyone in life had this dude's face and they're all after this one guy? So he's being hunted. And it's pretty interesting, actually. Like, as far as horror aspect goes and, like, suspense, it does a pretty good job. And I don't feel like anything that it's doing is cliche either. I know that this is by the Death Note duo, but I don't get this type of comedy at all. And it doesn't do a good job of helping me understand or like that type of comedy. The difference between Akane Banashi and this is that Akane Banashi shows you visually the comedy, and you understand the stories, and even though you can't see the way that she's saying it, or the way she changes her voice, or her dialect, or even the dialogue, her persona, you get it, and you understand it, without having to be told sometimes. Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't have to tell you. It's like her facial expressions. Here, you don't get told jack crap, you just get told a joke that's mainly funny in Japanese, and it doesn't translate well. Skeleton Double. I'm gonna put Skeleton Double in D. It has an interesting premise, but it's just been kind of like lackluster in execution. Spy Family is an A. Really great series. There's nothing really you can complain about. Maybe the fact that it doesn't... Doesn't progress as fast as some would like with the story, but I don't think that it's meant to progress. I think it's more about them as a family than it is about his mission involving a family, if that makes sense. This series was really good, but it's another case of it probably was a B or a C, but it's been on hiatus for longer than Rui Dragon, so I can't give it a score. This was awful. Angels come down from heaven because people are addicted to devil music. No, not rap and rock and roll. Literal devils are on Earth and they sing music in boy bands, and people love it. So the angels can't have that, so they come down and try to make their own bands. Yes, it's Gooby. Chinmaku Cinema is a C. The only reason that I would put it in a C versus a D or a B is because it doesn't have any real emotion until the last 2 chapters that are currently out. But what keeps it from being a D is that every single chapter I learned something about filming, which is cool. There's not something that I can go and, other than read, learn, watch about it. This is, in manga form, a really great way to learn about aspects of film, whether it's backgrounds, takes, how it's set up. Shouldn't be linear. You should film certain parts at different times of the day, so that way you can film multiple parts in one day, even if it's out of order, and then go back and re-edit it. Lighting, trying to make a room more lived in, that type of feel. Trying to do all the little minor things that make a movie not special, but make a movie a movie. Make it a high quality production. This doctor goes around and he heals people. Started out cool, but progressively it's gotten more and more boring. Did have a spot where it went boop for a backstory, but then it goes right back down here. Elusive Samurai is also a D. It gets interesting from time to time, but because I don't know Japanese history that well, I'm a bit lost on a lot of things, and they introduce a lot of characters. Game Devil is interesting, but it really hasn't even gotten to the point where it wants to explain the plot fully. It gives you a basic premise, but we really don't know what's up with our main character, what's up with the Black Knight, and currently they introduced a new character on this little rerun, and we don't know how or why or who Error is. Sorry. The Ichinoi's family. I'm going to give that a C. The reason I'm going to give this a C, well, it has too many twists and turns. Unlike their previous work, which was an S, this work relies on trying to twist the reader every single week, so you basically get mind fucked, and then at one point, you're going to wake up, you're going to read this chapter, and you're going to say, you know what, I don't care anymore. Twist yourself until you're a pretzel. Middle finger, get away from me. And it's done that to a few people. Pension Life with the Vampire. This is cute, but has nothing going for it. I dropped this. Comedy was silly. Was no good. I dropped It's Time for Torture Princess. Read like 40 or 50 chapters. Realized every single fucking chapter is the same. And I'm not going to read repetitive nonsense. Shin Tokyo, I also dropped. I like the premise. I liked the twin ideas of them having to carry each other's pain, in a way to speak, probably pun intended, and it had some cool people from history in it, but it tended to, especially in this arc, go a little bit like over the top, like as if it was Tomodachi Game and we need 300 IQ mind players that are 8 steps ahead of each other. I don't need that in an action survival series. Undead Unluck is an A, although currently right now in this arc it's kind of a B. Really unique. Starts off kind of weird. A lot of people wrote it off based off the color page alone for chapter 1. So don't be distraught if you do try it or if you do watch the anime. It's got some really great storytelling. It's got some really great characters. It has really great emotional moments. And I like that it's fast paced as well. It doesn't have a, alright, we just finished saving Namek, let's have a barbecue type thing. Vibration Man. This was no good. The main character walks into a room, right, of a bunch of people that don't know him and acts like he's the best hero that's ever lived. So, for me, that was a bit of an annoyance. That and his power was pretty awful. Wild Strawberry. It's been an A. It's interesting. It's got a cool idea, cool premise, cool plot. Got some great art. I like what it's doing thus far. Reminds me of is it called Tokyo Nights? One moment, I'll look it up because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Full Night. Fool, Full Night. Witch Watch gets a D. By the assistance of Gintama, they took Gintama's approach to manga to the max, and it doesn't work in today's manga telling format. It just doesn't. You can't have one chapter where things are cool and you progress a plot and then proceed to go do a bunch of nonsense for 50 chapters and then go back to that same plot and expect me to care in the same way. This series could have been 1/3 of the length, told the story the way it needed to be told, and it would have been great. It probably would have been an S, but it's not. It's in D because it takes its time goofing off, telling stories. I still remember they had a whole chapter, about a man buying Levi jeans and explaining to his friends and all of the people there that live with him that they needed to be worn a certain amount of times and washed a certain way and folded a certain way, and that owning these pair of Levi's is like having a child and you need to take care of them, and explain the whole history of Levi jeans. I didn't need that. And you think I may be being hyperbolic. I'm not. Everything I just said was in the chapter. I don't read World Trigger. You and I are polar opposites. I dropped because I just don't like the art as much and the characters. Now, you would say, why is it Ayakashi Triangle here, but something that's a little bit more lewd is in C? Well, this actually has a story, and although this does, it takes a back seat. The story is still in the front seat here. I think that having a book that when you go to sleep revisits your high school days, and other people having that book and it starts happening to multiple people, and living out your high school life in a different way is interesting. I also think it helps them grow as people in their real life, and it'll be interesting to see how they change their real life from their experiences here. One Punch Man. I'm gonna put One Punch Man in A. No, I'm not. I'm gonna put it in S. One Punch Man's awesome. And it's not because of One Punch Man, it's because there's a cast of characters who have all been fleshed out, and actually right now they're talking about like the Hero Association and why it's corrupt and like that type of stuff, where you can have fights and One Punch Man's not even there and they're better than the fights when One Punch Man is there. That's when you know you have something kind of special in your hands. Now I'm going to re-look over this. I might change a few, looking at where they're all placed. I'm gonna move the hiatus series up. I won't deduct for hiatus. And if I'm not gonna deduct for hiatus, I'm moving Heart Gear up. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I know that there's a lot of Meathead series at the top, but the reason why is, look, 233 chapters, like 370 chapters, over 1,000, nearing 200 something. A lot of these don't have that same amount, other than like Ayakashi Triangle and Black Clover and Chainsaw Man and a couple other ones that are just kind of goofy. But yeah. Actually, and you know what? I'm putting Akane in this. I don't care what you guys say. It's my list. Okay. Akane Banashi's a great series. Chitando's gonna read it. Much better than Meathead Goober stuff. You disagree with every single rating on this list. Which one is the most egregious to you, sir? Well, we all know the streamer's a fraud. Ayakashi should be SS plus, I say, yes. You think people are gonna get mad at me? I haven't read these because these are supposedly really good. Alright, well, that's my list. Total view. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like it, tell me and I'll make some more.